Okay, so this is like a documentation video for a project I did a long time, and maybe not that long time ago, but like a year ago probably. And unfortunately, I don't think I will finish it because I can't find the Blender project files. But I still like the project. I like what I tried to do here. And yeah, so I wanted to document where did I, like, what it actually is. And yep, before I close it and forget about it. So basically the story is that I bought a motorcycle and I wanted to customize it. And one of the things that really bothered me was the fuel gauge. It didn't work, like it worked, but it was really finicky. Like it either showed that you have a lot of fuel or it quickly went to zero even though you had fuel. So I was really interested in how it works and why it works so bad. So I basically disassembled the fuel gauge and and tried to figure out how it works. And since I really enjoy like learning how things work, and I also enjoy like making small games and things like that, I made a small app in Godot. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. It's Godot, not Godot. I hope so. In Godot I have made this small program to actually visualize this gauge and to be able to disassemble it. But as I've said, unfortunately, I didn't finish it. It's in a, I would say, good state. It's just not where I wanted it to be. Yeah, so you can see here that you get a simple menu, and it has the settings button, which doesn't do anything. Quit, like, yeah, that's implemented, and the start button. At the bottom, you have the keys you have to use to navigate. The menu is like, I'm not that happy with where it is, but there are some parts that I still like about it. I like this like cube moving out when you hover over buttons. I don't know if I like this bouncing effect at the end when it comes back, but yeah, still I like the idea. I would improve a lot on this menu, but it is what it is. Yeah, so if you press start and you can use middle mouse button to rotate. When you hold shift and scroll, you can move up and down. And if you just scroll, you can zoom in and zoom out. So basically the idea is that you can disassemble this fuel gauge. For example, in order to take off the enclosure, you first have to unscrew it by clicking on the screw. That will allow you to actually remove the enclosure by pressing right mouse button. And yeah, like you can slowly take off the bracket that is used to mount the gauge to the handlebars. When you unscrew those two, you can then remove this one. You can remove this one. That one doesn't matter that much, but still. So there are some dependencies, like you can't remove those rubber paddings without first removing this part. But after doing that, you can remove them. That's like a light bulb that lights up the gauge from below, so it's readable at night. So we can remove that one too. You can unscrew those cables. And then you can, unfortunately, one of the cables has a proper hitbox, so it highlights the cable and you can remove that one. But those cables don't have hitboxes, so they are using the same hitbox as the main body. And the main body is originally, like in real life, it's like a hard rubber cast, and like the shape is really crazy, and that would take a lot of time to poly model that. So I basically used ZBrush and basically used some primitives to merge them together. I used some Dynamesh and then remeshed it, decimated the mesh, so it's still really dense. But that's not a problem since I'm only rendering the the gauge itself, so like it's the geometry density isn't that important. I wanted to optimize the geometry, but well, I didn't get there. So yeah, let's remove the top part, then remove the glass and the seal. And so that's like the core of the fuel gauge. And yeah, so unfortunately all of this goes together. So if I hide this, the cables go too. And that's the interior of the fuel gauge and the actual core of how it works. So basically those screws that held the cables went in those holes here. I can remove this one. And they connected to those metal elements, which were connected to some, I think it's a resistor and an inductor, not sure about that. But from what I understand, since there were 3 cables, there was probably like the power itself, so like 12 volts, the ground and the signal, and probably the difference between the signal and the ground was used to generate the magnetic field by using this coil inside. Yeah, the camera navigation also should be improved, but it is what it is. Yeah, so the signal generated some magnetic field, and that moved the needle to show how much fuel is left. So something like that with like a low quality, like if the gauge itself is low quality, a system like that isn't like really that precise. So that's why it is a bit finicky. Yeah, and like at this point you can't remove more parts. That's as far as you can go. Yeah, that's mostly it. I really enjoyed this project, and I really want to make more projects of like disassembling devices. I don't know if I will use Godot, even though I enjoy it very much and you can do things like that very quickly. I'm just like, I enjoy programming in C, like low-level programming and writing things like that from scratch. But that would take me a lot of time, so that's why I used Godot. But I know there are other alternatives for that, which are way more low level, and I'll probably try something like that for a next project like that. But still, I can recommend Godot. It's great, it's amazing, and you should give it a go. Yeah, so that's it. Thanks.